Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in to the first episode of Urban Renew. And yes, a big warm welcome to all of you. My name is Bian Chan and I'm currently based in Hong Kong. Now, what is Urban Renew? Since this is our first episode, let me go through this in a bit more detail. We are a youth-led organization which strives to empower communities and amplify their voices in shaping an equitable and sustainable future for urban development. You might ask why? Our mission is to tackle the issue of community displacement that occurs as a result of emerging green infrastructure. Another aspect of Urban Renew is our Ash Creek framework, which is our co-designed 8-step plan to address urban renewal and redevelopment. These 8 steps include advocacy, sustainability, harmonization, research, education, transformation, and empowerment. Today, to kickstart this video series, we'll be discussing the background and basics of green gentrification. So, what is green gentrification? According to the University of Minnesota, green gentrification is the process by which environmental greening leads to increases in perceived local desirability that result in higher property values and rents. Sounds complicated? Let me break it down a little bit. So, let's use an example. Are you familiar with any neighborhoods experiencing an upgrade, undergoing renovations from older buildings to more modern designs where rental prices suddenly become a whole lot more expensive? That's gentrification. In green gentrification, the same thing occurs, except we undergo renovations to implement green infrastructure. When we implement green infrastructure such as permeable pavements, open park space, blue or green roofs, we raise the value of such buildings because it's much better to live in a greener building that is more energy efficient and might be even more protective against flooding during rainstorms, making it more expensive to live there. Older residents who are unable to afford these levels of rent might become displaced, and they're forced to relocate to poorer neighborhoods which often don't possess the same level of sustainability as their previous ones. Now, what causes green gentrification? Let's break it down into 2 parts. Firstly, the rise of green infrastructure and development, accompanied by a lack of resident or housing protection and emphasis on equality and community adhesion. According to Professor Curran, a professor of geography and sustainable urban development at DePaul University, people often cherry-pick and prioritize certain neighborhoods and projects above others rather than investing across a larger region. This ends up replicating the same landscapes of inequality we've had for the past few years. Moreover, while there are many mandates and policies in place for sustainability, for example, San Francisco's Green Building Code, which mandates energy efficiency and sustainability measures for new construction, there might not be sufficient anti-displacement and inclusive greening policies. Overall, the underlying cause of green gentrification is that green development is often viewed through a narrow lens without sufficiently considering its implications on social equity. Policymakers and urban planners should develop a more holistic, community-centered approach to ensure the benefits of green investments are equitably distributed and long-term residents aren't being displaced out of their own neighborhoods. So, moving on, what are the impacts of green gentrification? Trust me, green gentrification is very much a real existing problem within today's society. For example, a study by Anguilovsky et al. Employed a spatially weighed Bayesian model across 28 cities to find a strong positive correlation between greening in the 1990s to 2000s and gentrification from 2000 to 2016. The most evident impact of gentrification, or perhaps its trademark impact, is that prices increase. Taking New York's Highline Park development as an example, prices soared and homes close to the park increased values by 35.3% according to Black & Richards. That is a massive increase. So what about the other effects? Let's list them out. Gentrification can displace long-term residents, propagate wealth inequalities, segregate households by income, create divisions within a city, reducing social cohesion, alter a neighborhood's character or culture, create a sense of loss and disconnection, place a strain on public services and infrastructure, and more. We won't go into much detail as it's just an introduction, so be sure to check out our upcoming videos. So how can we address green gentrification? Like I briefly mentioned, greening projects should be planned out in a more holistic manner, taking into account anti-displacement and inclusive greening policies. For example, New York's Highline project has a Highline network that aims to tackle the gentrification that comes along with such developments. What can we do about it? The first step is simple, and you're already doing it, to learn more about it. So I hope you join me on this journey to learn more about green gentrification and what we can do to enable equity, inclusion, and sustainability to coexist together in our communities. Thank you for tuning in, and stay tuned for our next episode where we will take a deeper dive into the topic of urban development. Thank you.